Well, it's the big Scottish Cup semi-final tomorrow at Hampden Park. Rangers versus Celtic. An eagerly anticipated match, especially with Rangers just recently being promoted back to the Scottish Premiership. And to be honest, all the pressure is on Celtic tomorrow. And it's a huge match, and I'm really excited. And I think the whole country is eagerly anticipating this match because I think it's going to be a cracker. Because it's Rangers versus Celtic in the Scottish Cup semi-final, I wanted to talk about a couple of memories I've got of going to Rangers and Celtic matches, especially in the Scottish Cup in the semi-finals, even more specifically. I'd been to see Celtic and Rangers a couple of times before, but the Scottish Cup semi-final 1992 at Hampden Park, it was a Tuesday evening, the end of March, and I was just 11 years old, coming up for 11 and a half I was, and it was a freezing cold night at Hampden Park, pouring down with rain. It was windy. We were in the old terracing then, in what is now the North Stand, uncovered, absolutely soaked, packed in there. Amazing night. It was a really heroic performance by Rangers in the end. David Robertson, the left back of Rangers, got sent off after just 5-6 minutes after blatantly body checking Celtic winner Joe Miller, and he got a straight red for it. It could have been a yellow card, like a quick warning to calm down, but Andrew Waddle, the referee, who was very card happy in those days, he gave Robertson a straight red, and I couldn't believe it. I remember there as a kid just watching it, being a Rangers fan, and I was watching, seeing what was going on, and all of a sudden I just seen this flash of red, and I actually felt sick. I had that feeling in my stomach that I felt sick that he had got sent off. Anyway, it was a pretty sort of scrappy, even first half, and then Rangers went 1-0 up near the end of the first half, where Stuart McCall won the ball in midfield and he sent Ali McCoist through, and he fired home from like 20 yards just outside the box into the bottom corner, and absolute mayhem in the Rangers section. I just remember going crazy, and it was 1-0 at half time, and Ali McCoist, he was loving it. So 1-0 at half time, and then that second half, Celtic were all over Rangers against 10 men, and Rangers defended like warriors, like absolute heroes in that defence, the likes of Richard Gough and John Brown. Andy Gorham was brilliant in the goals, and Nigel Spackman and Stuart McCall in midfield. It was a really heroic display by Rangers, because Rangers weren't playing very well at that point. Celtic had just recently beat Rangers in the league at Ibrox, so Celtic were in the ascendancy, and even more so with the extra man. I remember Brian O'Neill hit the post, Paul McStay had a shot that hit the bar, and it was just loads of near misses, and Celtic piled on the pressure, and it was just one of the best displays I've seen of really playing for the shirt and defending your lead, and it was a really brilliant performance, and it's actually one of my favourite matches of all time. That was the Scottish Cup semi-final 1992. Rangers won 1-0. They held out with Alan McCoy scoring the goal, and Rangers hadn't won the Scottish Cup in a long time, and they went on to the Scottish Cup final against Airdrie and won 2-1 in the end. Oh, and then just a few months after that semi-final, they actually brought out an official VHS of the match, because it was considered a classic game, and I've still got this video to this day. Rangers v Celtic. What was it? Yeah, Tuesday the 31st of March 1992. Can you see? And this has got the complete 90 minutes of the match. I think the match was live on Sky Sports at the time, and it was like Martin Tyler commentary and stuff, and Terry Butcher. 1992, almost, 24 years ago to the day, really. 24 years ago. I remember it was like yesterday, this match. It's nice to have wee souvenirs. There can't be many of these going about. And since it's Scottish Cup semi-final this weekend with the old firm, Rangers and Celtic, I wanted to talk about the 1996 Scottish Cup semi-final as well, which I travelled up near 500 miles from the south of England where I was living at the time, and it was Rangers v Celtic, and Rangers won the match 2-1. Alan McCoist made it 1-0 with a tap-in at the end of I think it was near the end of the first half, and Rangers went 1-0 up at half-time again. Alan McCoist from, as I mentioned, the 1992 semi-final. Rangers had Paul Gascoigne and Brian Laudrup in the team at that time, and it was a really, really exciting team. And there was a small crowd that day of 36,000 because all the new seats had been put in, and the crowd was limited. Like, it was no terracing anymore, and the old main stand was still there, and that's where I was sitting, the old main stand, which is now the BT South stand. And it's funny, I came up, one of my good friends at that time, Paul Lang, who was actually a Celtic fan, he was sitting next to me in the Rangers section in the main stand, which was fun for him. I'm think it was his first ever Rangers Celtic match, if I remember. Anyways, Rangers went 2-0 up with a brilliant individual goal by Brian Laudrup. He chipped it over, sort of lofted it over Gordon Marshall to make it 2-0. And I think Rangers were pretty comfortable in this match. And Pierre Van Hooijdonk scored a header late on to make it 2-1. But this was another brilliant match. And these were two really good teams at this time, the 95-96 season. I remember Celtic being really strong at that time. They had players still had likes of Paul McStay, and they had Andreas Thom, Pierre Van Hooijdonk, and I remember these games that I was talking about, the 1992 and 1996 Scottish Cup semi-finals. There was so many Scottish players involved in these two games as well, and I'd like to think not just tomorrow but next season as well in the Scottish Premiership in the 2016-2017 season we'll see more and more Scottish players playing in both Rangers and Celtic, because a mixture of two things. We can't afford the wages for foreign and maybe English players so much these days, and we can't afford to buy players, and we're having to nurture our own players and go to the lower leagues and go to get players through the youth system. So I think hopefully that more and more talented Scottish players playing for the likes of Rangers and Celtic and other big teams in Scotland, that's going to help the game and the Scotland national team in the long run. Yep, as I said, there were two memories of mine, two matches that I went to in the Scottish Cup semi-final, Old Firm semi-finals, and there were memorable matches, in particular that game in the rain when I was so nervous in that 1992 semi-final. I remember having a big sty after it as well, and I think we travelled through on a supporters bus from Fife. I think we were living in Dundee at the time, and we drove through to Fife, me and my father, and I've never been absolutely exhausted after it. I wasn't feeling too good. Anyways, that's just a few words from me today, and I hope it's a brilliant match tomorrow at Hampden Park. I hope everyone behaves themselves, and I really look forward to a great match. That's the most important thing, is we enjoy the match and it's remembered for the right reasons, for the great football played in the tense and exciting atmosphere. That's what we all love about football, and what we especially love about Rangers and Celtic matches. All the best.